Hey everyone, and welcome back. Sometimes you pick up a book and it just clicks. It feels like someone finally gets it, finally speaks your language about something that everyone else makes so complicated. For me, that book was Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Now, the title itself might sound a bit bold, right? Like, can a book really teach you to be rich? Well, after diving deep into it, I can tell you it's less about magic formulas and more about some incredibly powerful yet surprisingly simple shifts in how we think about and handle our money. Ramit is not your typical finance guru. He's part Silicon Valley geek, part frat boy, and definitely a San Francisco hipster, as the San Francisco Chronicle put it. But he's also singularly attuned to our generation's sensibilities, which is why his advice resonates so much. Forget those dry jargon-filled finance books. This one reads like a conversation with a smart, slightly sassy friend who's going to tell you the truth, no matter how much it stings. He won't lecture you about cutting lats. He even encourages you to buy as many as you want. His whole philosophy is built around this idea of living your rich life. What does that mean? It's completely unique to you. For some, it might be skiing 40 days a year in Utah. For others, it's being able to order appetizers at a restaurant without guilt. Something Ramit personally aspired to. It's about designing a life where money serves you, not the other way around. Now, one of the biggest takeaways from this book, and honestly, one that completely changed my perspective, is the 85% solution. Ramit argues that it's far more important to get started and get things good enough like 85 right than to try and perfect everything and end up doing nothing at all. How many times have we agonized over finding the perfect investment or the absolute best bank account, only to do nothing for months, even years? This book cuts through all that noise. It says, just act. And speaking of noise, Ramit calls out the media and other experts who constantly debate minutiae, making us feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. Those headlines like 10 no-hassle frugality tips or articles debating trans fats for weight loss. He points out that most of us only need to know a few key things about money, just like most of us only need to know eat less and exercise more for weight loss. The core message is simple: stop debating minutiae and focus on the big wins. These are the things that give you disproportionate results, like automating your savings, investing, finding a job you love, and negotiating your salary. He even says you can buy as many lats as you want if you get the big wins right. So what are some of these big wins? Well, a major one is optimizing your credit cards. Ramit's not one of those pundits who tells you to cut up all your cards. He actually sees them as tools that offer thousands of dollars worth of perks, free short-term loans, and excellent ways to track spending and build credit. The key: paying off your credit card regularly and in full. He shows you how to play offense, negotiate fees, get lower APR, and use their secret perks for things like free flights and hotel stays. He even describes how he got a negative influencer label from Bank of America because he called them out for screwing over his readers. Then there's the part about beating the banks. He pushes you to open high-interest, low-hassle accounts and negotiate fees. He famously talks about how people stick with terrible banks like Wells Fargo or Bank of America out of laziness, convenience, or just because it's always been that way. But by spending a few hours to switch to a better online bank, you can avoid monthly fees and overdraft charges, which can really eat into your money. He shares a story about a friend who saved over $250 just by making a phone call to waive fees. It's about being proactive, not accepting the status quo. Another crucial concept is conscious spending. Ramit hates traditional budgeting because, let's be honest, nobody sticks to it. Instead, he advocates for a plan where you decide in advance where your money goes: fixed costs, investments, savings goals, and guilt-free spending. The magic here is that once you've allocated money to your priorities like investments and savings, you can spend the rest guilt-free on anything you love, whether it's expensive shoes, eating out, or travel. He tells stories of people like Lisa, who spends $5 a year on shoes but lives in a tiny apartment and maxes out her retirement accounts, or John, who spends $21 a year going out because he cuts costs mercilessly elsewhere. It's about choices and priorities, not deprivation. One of the biggest eye-openers for many is the emphasis on automation. This is where the whole system comes together. You link your accounts so that money automatically flows from your paycheck to your 401k Roth IRA savings goals and then pays your bills, leaving your guilt-free money in your checking account. This means you do the work once upfront, a few hours of setup, and then your money grows while you sleep. Literally, it accounts for human laziness, ensuring you stay on track even when you're busy or unmotivated. Many readers, like Ross Fletcher, went from zero net worth to close to $450, zero since implementing an automated system. And then there's investing, which Ramit says isn't only for rich people. He dedicates a lot of time to debunking the myth of financial expertise. He uses examples like wine experts fail in a blind taste test to illustrate that even so-called financial gurus can't consistently beat the market or predict its movements. His core advice: ignore active fund managers, individual stock picking, and exotic investments like crypto. Why? Because the data shows that the vast majority of professionals fail to beat the market after fees. Instead, he champions low-cost index funds and target date funds. These funds simply aim to match the market's performance, but because they have significantly lower fees, they often outperform actively managed funds over the long term. He famously says, "If you're reading this and you're paying over 1% in fees, I'm going to kill you." It's about timing the market, not timing the market. The power of compounding, especially when you start early, is immense. Audiobook at 30 had over $300 zero saved by using this advice starting at 24. Now you might be thinking, what about all those excuses? I don't make enough, the system is rigged, I'm afraid of losing money. Ramit tackles these head-on, dismissing what he calls victim culture. He acknowledges that external factors matter, but constantly emphasizes focusing on what you can control. He demonstrates that even small consistent steps, like saving an extra $50 a month on student loans, can save you thousands in the long run. For those who feel they can't cut more spending, he points out that there's a limit to how much you can cut, but no limit to how much you can earn. He then dives into strategies for negotiating a raise or even starting a side gig. Mary Grace Gardner, for example, got a $20 zero salary increase and started a side business after reading the book. And what about those big life events, weddings, buying a car or a house? Ramit applies the same conscious spending philosophy. He candidly admits that people are often hypocrites about their weddings, planning for simple but ending up with a $35 zero bill. He encourages planning ahead for these predictable expenses by setting up specific savings goals. Even before you're engaged, he shows how simple planning can save you thousands on cars and houses, reminding us that a house is primarily a place to live, not always the best investment. One of the most valuable and often overlooked aspects of the book is how it delves into the psychology of money. Ramit introduces the concept of invisible money scripts, which are unconscious beliefs we've absorbed from our upbringing and society that often dictate our financial decisions without us even realizing it. Things like credit cards are a scam, or you don't get that level of wealth without making a few shady deals. By identifying these scripts, he empowers you to challenge them and change your financial behavior. So, if you're wondering, is this book for me? I'd say if you're tired of feeling guilty about money, or overwhelmed by conflicting advice, or if you just want a practical, no-nonsense roadmap to financial health without becoming a finance expert, then yes, absolutely. Seth Godin, a well-known author, even called it the second best way to get rich, right after inheriting money. The power of this book isn't in its novelty. Ramit himself admits that many techniques still work years later because usefulness trumps newness. It's in its practicality and its emphasis on consistent, boring action. It helps you set up a system that runs itself, freeing you from financial worry and allowing you to focus on truly living your rich life outside the spreadsheet. My own personal finance journey certainly improved after understanding these principles. My observation, not in source. Ultimately, Ramit's goal is to empower you. He makes it clear that you're in control. By reading this book, you'll be better prepared to manage your finances than most people. It just takes small disciplined steps, and as he says in the conclusion, a rich life is about more than money. It starts by managing your own, and it continues by helping others become rich. So, are you ready to design your own rich life? I highly recommend checking out I Will Teach You to Be Rich. You won't regret it.